Et voilà. Okay. So the three verbs that we're talking about today are vouloir, which means to want, pouvoir, which means to be able to. It's like saying can or may, and devoir, which means to owe or ought to. It's also like saying should or must. These are verbs that we use in English that don't have an infinitive. Well, to want does, but the others don't necessarily have an infinitive form in English that starts with to. These are what we call modal verbs. They actually come from German. This is where English and French are somewhat different grammatically because they actually do belong to different language families. So what I wanted to do today was to show you guys the conjugations of vouloir and pouvoir, and then to set you to work building some sentences using them. Now, these three verbs are all together on the back board of my classroom. So if you imagine back to the classroom, if you were to turn around, they'd be there in one column because they look very similar when you conjugate them. So here's where I'd like you to have paper out and ready to write some of these down, and you can put these back into the document later on, however you want to go about it. To want, je veux. Notice vouloir and veut look very different, right? However, you'll see a pattern start to emerge. Tu veux. You want. Notice it's the same word. Veut. He, she wants. Il veut. Notice the difference here is that instead of an X, we end with a T. Now, in the nous and the vous forms, we have it look a little bit more like the original. Vouloir, nous voulons. We want. Vous voulez. You guys want. And then lastly, ils veulent. Silent ENT, as always. So if you're thinking about the sound part of it here, right? Because we always want to try to relate the sounds to the spelling. We've got je veux, tu veux, il veut. I don't know. I'd put that because I don't really quite know how to do as a sound in English. But nous voulons, vous voulez, ils veulent. No idea how to type veulent. I guess that would be kind of it. Voila. Pouvoir looks very similar. Je peux, meaning I can. Est-ce que je peux? Can I? Tu peux. Il, elle peut. Peut. I don't know. We'll save this for the sound, right? Remember that in gray, this is the sound. This is not the spelling. This is just to give you a sense of how it's supposed to sound so that later on, when you don't have my voice saying je peux, tu peux, il peut, you can remember the peu sound. Now the nous and the vous, once again, we kind of go back to the original infinitive. We've got the pouv part. Nous pouvons, vous pouvez. We can, you can. And lastly, ils peuvent. Right? So again, sounds. Pouvons, pouvez, peuvent. I like that. Stop there for a moment. Are there any questions on any of this? Let's see if there's anything in the chat box. Just Abby. Any other questions? Okay. If not, let's go ahead and move to devoir, which is should or must or owe or ought to. Je dois, tu dois, il doit. Notice this one ends with an S. Unlike vouloir and pouvoir, where we've got the XXT, this is SST. Somebody put something in the chat box. Oh, Colin, you're here. Good. The nous and the vous, we go back to that first part again. Nous devons, we should. Vous devez, you should. And then ils doivent, they should. So this is like a doit, devant, devez, doivent. Voila. Those are our sounds. Now, how do we use these productively? As I said before, these verbs are conjugated they're changed to go with the person who's doing them, and then combined with combined with another verb in the infinitive form, so that we get a full sentence like je veux manger, I want to eat. Est-ce que tu peux attendre? Can you wait? Nous devons faire attention. We should pay attention, right? In each of these cases, is the conjugated verb, peut and faire, and then after that we have another verb in the infinitive. Manger, attendre. I'm sorry, I did the wrong one here. It should be that one, underline, and make it. So this is how we combine two verbs in one clause, but only one of them is conjugated. The veut, the peut, the devant, the vouloir, pouvoir, devoir, and the verb that comes after it is in the original infinitive form. Hopefully that makes sense. And really, honestly, these three verbs are significant, A, because they're conjugated in a funny way, and B, because they express things in a way that is connected in English. This whole should, can, want thing, our verbs in English operate in a particular way together as a group that these same verbs operate very differently in French. So that's the basics. What I'd like you to do then is for the assignment, to make a few sentences, 9 sentences total, 3 using each of these verbs, vouloir, pouvoir, and devoir, and you can combine them then with something after it. So in our example, we're going to use vouloir. We're going to use Frank as the example. Poor Frank, he's always the example now. If anybody goes to Stop and Shop and sees Frank, tell him I said hi. Frank veut, so that's the conjugation of vouloir that goes with Frank. Acheter, to buy. This is the infinitive. He wants to buy. Is he buying right now? No. He wants to buy une voiture, a car. That's how we put the sentence together. So what I want you to do is to take the person, take one of these three verbs and conjugate it properly with the person, and then add on this last part. This last part you don't have to change at all. And I put etc. so that if you want to put something a little bit different than these, as long as there is a verb in the infinitive form that starts off your phrase, you can put your own phrase there as well. Put the sentence together in French and then translate it into English so that I know that you know what kind of sentence you were putting together and what you meant. And that's the assignment. And those are that's the whole thing. So I'm going to